So welcome back to our HTML course. We stopped at HTML list and we are going to continue with the HTML block elements. So every HTML element has a default display value depending on what type of element it is. The default display value for most elements is block or inline. A block level element always starts on a new line and takes up the full width available, stretches out to the left and the right as far as it can. So e.g., this is an example of block element. Here our box is containing the width of the screen here. So examples of block level elements are div. We've not talked about div before, so we are going to talk about it in this class. So we have the h1 to h6 here. We've talked about this before and it is part of the block level elements. So we have the p tag. The p tag, we've talked about it, which is the paragraph tag and is also part of the block level elements. We have the form tag, which we've not talked about and we'll soon talk about it. So let's look at the div. Before that, let me show you how these tags are block level elements. So here we have our h1 . Let me give it a background color, style post and background color. Okay, let me see blue. So giving it a blue background color, let's check the width of the h1. You see, it is containing the screen from the left to the right, even if the right top is not stretching to the right part, but the background, like the width it is taking the width of the whole screen. Same goes to h2 and the rest of the h heading elements. So let me give h3 this. So let me give h3 this style too. Also let me give it to h4, no, h5, h6, p. So to h4 I'm going to add, since I have my style there already, I'm going to add the background color, and then to my h2 I'm going to add the background color too. So let's check it out on our browser to see. Yeah, it is all containing the screen. So you see, even the P is also containing the screen. So we have something like div. Yeah. So we are going to talk about div and form in the next slide, after we talk about HTML inline elements. So HTML inline elements does not start on a new line and only takes up as much width as necessary. This is an inline element. You see here, this is our inline element. It just contains the content. It is not taking the full width the full size of the width, it is just containing the contents. So examples or the tags of inline elements are the span, the anchor tag, and the image. So let's take an example here. Okay, let me give this a span, this browser span. And give it a background color. So here the browser is having a background color in this write-up. You can also give a new line of span. So let me just give it in a new line. This is a span element. And then I'm giving it a style, background color blue. So here it is only containing the contents. It is not containing the full size of the desktop screen, unlike the H1 and the P. So if you notice, we are having our write-up here in the span, and then our image follows, our link follows. So remember here, the anchor tag is also an inline element, and our image is also an inline element. So it can continue till the screen is occupied. Let me paste it. You see, it keeps going horizontally, while the block level element contains the width, and it will continue going vertically. So the block level elements keeps going vertically, while the inline elements keep going horizontally. And then we have the HTML div and span. The div element is a block level element that is often used as a container for other HTML elements. Yeah, we can use the div as a container for other HTML elements. We can use it to contain the H1, the P, and also any other HTML elements. So the div element has no required attributes, but style and class are common. So it has no required attributes, unlike image that needs source to work. It needs alt to work, but div doesn't have any. So if it is your choice to add the style or class to it to make it stylish. So when used together with CSS, the div can be used to style blocks of contents. So we are going to try that out with maybe the internal styling for you to see how it works. So we have the span element. The span element is an inline element that is often used as container for some text. The div element is a container for elements, for other HTML elements, while this span element is a container for just text. What we mean, you see, it is containing only this browser without other text. So the span element has no required attribute too, unlike the image or the anchor tag. The anchor tag needs the href to work because our URL address will be inside the href to work, and then the image, our source attribute, will be inside the image tag to make it effective. So the span and the div element does not need any of that, so it is your choice to add the style and class to it. So when used together with the CSS, the span element can be used to style part of the text. So let's take a look at div here. So div, and give h1. This heading is inside a div. So h2, this subheading is inside a div 2, and then let's finally give a p. This paragraph is inside a div. Here, let me refresh it. And we can have our heading. This heading is inside a div, this subheading is inside a div 2, this paragraph is inside a div. So it's just on their own because I didn't style the div. So I can now style the div to make them inside a container. So style, let me give it a background color, and it's blue. Okay, so let me change the color of my text. This color red. So here you see this div is also containing the screen. It is also containing the screen, and it is containing the h1, the h2, and the p. So we can use it for as a mini container. Apart from the body, no body is containing every other tags, so we can use this as a mini container inside our HTML document. We can have a house and then rooms inside the house, different rooms. So let me say the body is the house and the divs are the rooms that contains each other stuffs inside the house. So that is an example of div. And span, we can use span inside an elements which we used in this p tag. Here, which we used here to style this our browser. Okay, so the next is the HTML ID and classes. So the HTML ID, we've used ID to make our HTML bookmark, so we really don't know what this ID is. So we have the HTML ID and classes. HTML ID attributes can make it possible to define only one unique style for HTML elements. When used in more than one element, it is possible for that element not to take effects. So HTML ID is used for only a unique element, only one element. So why is it called HTML ID? Let me make an example with an ID card. So identification card, my ID card cannot be shared even with my relative, because it is my identity card, and my other relative also have their own identity, so we cannot share identity card. So same goes to HTML ID. We cannot share an identity, we cannot share a style with two elements, because it is a unique identifier. The ID is a unique identifier, so it is only used to style only one element. So when specifying an ID, two words cannot be separated with space. Rather, it can be separated by hyphen, underscore, or camel case. So this is an example of camel case here. So HTML ID can only be used with internal CSS. It cannot be used with inline CSS. So let me make an example here. You know, our internal CSS is specified at the head tag, inside the head tag. So using our style tag, if you can remember. So let me make this let me style, you know, our ID is hash when styling in our head tag. Our ID is hash, and then let me give a name of white container. I'm using underscore here. So I'm giving it a background color of white, then color red. So we have similar thing here. We have the background color Alice blue, which is closer to the white, and the color of red. So since I have styled it at the top, let me just remove this and then refresh my browser. What happens? It didn't take effect. Meanwhile, the inline styling we did before disappeared because we've removed it from the code, and here we are not having the effect of the one we styled with ID. Why? It is because we haven't called it here. So when you style at the top inside your head tag, you come back and call it in the tag you want to take effect on. So let me call the ID here now white container. You use the name you use in styling it to call it exactly. So we used white underscore container in calling it here, and then we use it to call it back here. So here, this is our container. So it is having effects now because we styled it up and then call it inside the tag, the div tag. So we have the HTML class. The HTML class attributes make it possible to define equal style for equal HTML elements. That is, more than one HTML element can have the same styles with the help of class. So when specifying a class, two words cannot be separated with space, just like the first one, which is the ID. So the HTML class can be used to style more than one element, to style multiple elements with the same name. And when styling with class, our symbol for class is dots. Purple, let me use hyphen here, dot purple container. So the symbol for HTML ID is hash, while the symbol for class is dots. So let me just copy here and paste, then remove this ID now and give it a class purple container. I used hyphen, so I'm using hyphen here to call it. So purple container. I come back here and refresh. Here is our outputs. So we used ID in styling this, and we use class in styling this. So let me duplicate this class. So you see, many of them are having all of them are having the same style. So mostly this HTML ID is mostly unique while using it in JavaScript. So for the class, it is sure that it will take multiple effects. So let's move to building our block layouts. Before we build our block layouts, we have to talk about some properties and values here. So we have something like margin, so here I gave it margin of 100 pixel, and it is having space between the top, left, right, bottom. Margin is the space outside your container here. So I gave it 100%, or I gave it 100 pixels, and it is having space around it outside the container. So margin is the space outside our container. And we also have something like padding. Let me give 20 pixels or 50 pixels. So padding is the space inside our container. As you can see, we are now having space around the text inside our container. So with margin and padding, our container can be more beautiful. We also have we can also make it, can also specify it in our class. In our class styling, I'll just copy and paste here. So we are having something like this. So we are having our block layouts here. So you see, it is now beautiful than how it was before. So let me just copy this. This is what will take us to the top, this link. So let me just copy it to the bottom from our code here. And then paste it here. So So it is now at this part. We can just click on it and it will take us to the top. Click back to the bottom.